Conclusion. The enduring oligarchy. How elite control persists in the age of mass politics. Abstract. This article posits a fundamental, enduring thesis. The core structures of governance are engineered to ensure the perpetual supremacy of a financial elite, the 1%, regardless of political upheaval or democratic mechanisms. Historical shifts, from the French Revolution to the rise of modern republics, have merely substituted one form of ruling class for another, while the majority, the 99%, remain politically marginalized and economically precarious. This enduring stratification is stabilized by systemic mechanisms of popular distraction and the redirection of social anger toward manufactured scapegoats. Empirical evidence, such as the fact that up to 70% of the U.S. population lives paycheck to paycheck, underscores the systemic precarity that necessitates these control strategies. The continuity of elite capture. Analysis of major historical transitions suggests that revolutionary change rarely penetrates the deep core of state power. The shift following the French Revolution serves as a potent illustration. The power once vested in the aristocracy and the church was not transferred to the masses, but to the wealthy bourgeoisie. The principle of rule by birthright was replaced by rule by capital and property. This phenomenon, termed elite capture, ensures that the state's structure remains a vessel through which the 1% consistently secures its economic and political interests, maintaining power even through the formal processes of mass democracy. 2. Control through Panem et Circenses and scapegoating. To stabilize a political system built upon inherent socioeconomic stratification and mass exploitation, the ruling elite must employ sophisticated mechanisms to manage the inevitable discontent of the majority. A. The distraction of media and entertainment. Mass entertainment, digital media, and consumer culture function to preoccupy the majority, diverting collective attention away from the complex, structural causes of their precarity, such as wage stagnation, tax loopholes, and financial deregulation. The media landscape, often owned or influenced by elite interests, functions as a tool to sustain a political and cultural spectacle that successfully diverts public focus from substantive economic realities. B. The scapegoat strategy, canalizing anger. The pervasive financial strain experienced by the majority, the 70% living paycheck to paycheck, generates the social friction necessary for elite control. Populist rhetoric actively externalizes the cause of this hardship by redirecting legitimate public anger toward a vulnerable, manufactured scapegoat, primarily immigrants. This strategy involves a deliberate populist framing. Problem. The working class struggles financially. Reality. Decades of wage stagnation, rising costs, and weakened worker power. Asserted cause. Uncontrolled immigration leads to wage depression and burdens public services. Result. This political framing diverts public attention from tax and labor policies that directly benefit the 1%. Furthermore, migrant labor, often precarious and low wage, provides a clear economic benefit to the 1% by lowering operating costs. Migrants thus serve a dual systemic role as an economic subsidy for capital and, simultaneously, as the political scapegoat for the resultant systemic inequality. C. The ultimate distraction, war and elite consolidation. The most profound and profitable mechanism for redirecting internal conflict is external warfare. Historically, conflict has served as a, quote, pressure release valve that stabilizes elite control by unifying the population against a common enemy, us versus them. All collective social energy and dissent are redirected from economic injustice toward a foreign threat, legitimizing aggressive new forms of state power and surveillance. 2. Consolidating elite wealth and power warfare is inherently an economic engine that overwhelmingly benefits the elite. It generates massive profits for the arms, finance, and logistics industries, the military-industrial complex. More importantly, the immense cost of war is typically funded by increasing national debt, which is ultimately paid by the 99% through taxes and austerity measures, while the profits flow directly into the hands of the 1%. Thus, war is the supreme tool. It silences internal dissent while simultaneously maximizing capital and power for the few. 3. The two-party illusion. The democratic process, particularly in systems like the United States, can be interpreted as a choreographed political spectacle designed to legitimize and mask the persistence of oligarchic rule. The public conflict between major parties, e.g., Republicans and Democrats, operates as an ostensible struggle that polarizes and distracts the 99%. Despite the electoral rhetoric, the 1% remains the perennial winner. Fundamental economic policies that enable the upward redistribution of wealth, such as favorable tax codes, financial deregulation, and the erosion of worker protections, remain largely untouched, regardless of which party is in power. Both parties are ultimately tethered to large financial donors and corporate interests. The resulting political contest functions as a sophisticated, unifying uniparty that maintains the status quo of economic supremacy for the few, offering the illusion of choice without the reality of structural changes. Conclusion: the enduring formula. The historical and contemporary evidence reveals a clear and persistent formula for the maintenance of socioeconomic control. The measurable facts of widespread financial insecurity among the majority and the concurrent maximization of wealth among the elite are not accidental developments. They are the necessary and engineered outcomes of a system optimized for oligarchic rule. All political, media, and social phenomena are, therefore, the sophisticated tools used to sustain this economic reality. The core challenge for the 99% remains a cognitive redirection, the necessary intellectual shift from focusing on externally manufactured scapegoats to critically examining the persistent, underlying structures of power. This challenge mirrors Plato's allegory of the cave. The majority are conditioned to see only the shadows on the wall, the political spectacle, and the manufactured scapegoats, and not the reality of the oligarchic structure that casts them. Critically, the 1% rarely needs to actively silence those who expose the truth. They simply need to provide the labels. Any individual who attempts to lead the 99% out of the cave and point to the true mechanisms of exploitation risks being instantly delegitimized and persecuted, branded as a communist, betrayer, or antichrist by the very audience they are trying to free. This reflexive rejection of truth, rooted in a comfort with the shadows, is the final and most resilient defense of the enduring oligarchy.